Um, welcome. Welcome to this meeting, this public information meeting. This is a planning application for a development agreement to permit a development of a farm dwelling on their property located at 2204 Highway 221, Dempsey's Corner. The applicant is Reynold Dyke and Ocean Robillard. Robillard?
Robillard, yes.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Um, so I guess at this time, we let the public know that the municipality has received the application and that may be of a community interest. And the planning staff will explain the policies under which council may consider the application and the criteria used to evaluate the proposal. And no decisions have been made to date, so that's clear. I will now just turn this over to Will and he can go through the application and we can go from there. Thanks, Will.
Thank you very much, Councillor Killam. 1 second and I will share the presentation. Please bear with me for a second. So this is a public information meeting for a development agreement application. And this is a recording of the public information meeting, which will run from the 26th of August until the 25th of September. The purpose of the meeting is as follows. It is to inform the public of the application at hand, to explain the planning policies that enable this application to occur, and to receive preliminary feedback. Please note that no opinions have been formed on this application at this time. So the background and proposal is as follows. Reynold Dyke and Ocean Robillard have purchased the property at 2204 Highway 221 in Dempsey's Corner, and the intention of the applicants is to actively farm and live on their land. They've applied to enter into a development agreement to permit the development of a farm dwelling for their property, and council is enabled to consider this application under policy 3.4.17 of the municipal planning strategy. This is a map of the municipality of the County of Kings, and you'll note the red circle which appears in the upper left-hand corner, and that's the approximate location of the subject property within the municipality. This is an aerial photograph of the subject property. It's has approximately 800 feet of frontage on Highway 221. And the front part of the portion, approximately 25 acres, is cleared. It slopes downwards in a southern direction away from Highway 221. And you'll note that the subject property is an area that has a significant amount of agricultural land, and as well there are a number of low-density residential dwellings in this area as well. This is a zoning map of the subject property, so you'll note the subject property and all of the properties within the surrounding area are zoned A1 agriculture. This is land that has been deemed to be of prime agricultural interest, and the intention for this area is for farming purposes. This is the future land use designation of the subject property in the surrounding area, and similar to the zoning map, you'll note that the designation for the subject property in the surrounding area is agricultural, and the agricultural lands are again intended primarily for agricultural uses. This is a photograph of the subject property. This is looking southward, kind of away from Highway 221. So you'll note that the front portion, as mentioned, is cleared and is intended. The applicants, I believe, are intending to use it for crop production. There is a ribbon of trees that kind of cuts diagonally across the property as well, which you can see there. This is another photograph, I believe, taken from the other side of the kind of the ribbon of trees that runs on the property. This is looking, I believe, northward towards Highway 221. You can see some of the fertile agricultural lands that are located on the subject property. This is, again, another photograph of the subject property, and we're kind of flipping back to the opposite side of where the tree line runs across the property. You can see that the property has been cleared and is being prepared for crop production at this time. This is a photograph kind of taken in a similar place, but looking in an opposite direction, looking more towards the southeast on the subject property. So again, we're dealing with very fertile land that is being prepared for crop production. This is a photograph taken from Highway 221. You'll note that there's a small barn on the subject property in kind of the northeast corner, as well as an access point to the land from Highway 221 on that subject property. And you can see that the tree coverage at the back of the property as well, so towards the southern end, away from Highway 221. And this is a closer view of the forested cover at the southern end of the property, which stretches quite a bit ways back from this particular location, and this remains forested at this time. So with regard to the policy within the municipal planning strategy that enables the application to be considered. So this policy is 3.4.17, and it's applicable to lands within the A1 agricultural zone. Consider only by development agreement the development of a farm dwelling for new farmers or farmers that have recently relocated to the municipality. And this policy is intended to apply to full-time active farmers, so those living on their land farming full-time. In considering such proposals, council shall take the following into consideration. A, development agreement shall include a site plan showing the location of crops, barns, pastures, residential development accessory to the farming business, access, site servicing, and landscaping. So the development agreement needs to show the location of the crops on the property, barns or any buildings used for agricultural purposes, pastures in the event that there would be livestock such as cows or pigs on the subject property, the location of the dwelling that is accessory to the farming business, so where the full-time active farming family would live, access to the site from the road, servicing if applicable, and finally any landscaping features as well. B, submission of a professional business plan which demonstrates the intent to farm. So a third party with agricultural expertise shall review and provide comment to municipal staff. So essentially a business plan showing that the new farming business has a viable plan to sustain the business. Demonstration of intent to farm by showing proof of farm financing or investing in farm-related infrastructure. So has the equipment necessary to operate a farm been purchased or has financing been secured? And D, in the case of proposed livestock operations, submission of a manure storage plan as part of the application. So in order to meet the policy criteria, when staff complete the review of the application at hand, we'll look to ensure that all of these items have been met. Finally, there's the general criteria for development agreement, Municipal Planning Strategy Policy 5.3.7. And these are the criteria upon which all planning applications are evaluated on when received by the municipality and when staff are completing their review. So starts with the proposal is in keeping with the intent of the municipal planning strategy. Are the goals and the objectives of the municipal planning strategies being met by the planning application? Is there any undue negative impact on the finances of the municipality as a result of the application? Are the land uses surrounding the subject property compatible with the proposed land use? When applicable, are there adequate schools, recreational and community facilities, and are they in a reasonable proximity to the subject property? Would the proposed use create any traffic hazards or congestion? Is there adequate fire protection for the proposed use? When applicable, is there adequate sewer or water services? Would the land use cause any undue potential for flooding or drainage issues? Would there be negative impacts on well fields or other groundwater supplies when applicable? Would any undue pollution, such as soil erosion or siltation of watercourses, be caused by the proposed use? When applicable, would there be negative impacts on lake water quality or wetlands? And when applicable, would there be any negative impacts on neighboring farm operations? And finally, is the site suitable in terms of the physical characteristics for the proposed use? So the grades, the soils, geological conditions, watercourses, marshes, bogs, swamps, and proximity to utility right-of-ways. So again, these are the criteria, when applicable, that are used to evaluate all planning proposals that are submitted to the municipality, not specifically this one, but again, it's the general criteria that staff will look at when reviewing a planning application. With regard to the development agreement process, properties within 500 feet will be notified via letter mail of the public information meeting, and again for the public hearing. And the public hearing would be advertised twice in the local newspaper. In terms of the timeline, the complete application has been received, and we're at the early stages of the planning process with our virtual PIM, which will have a 30-day viewing period, as mentioned previously. Staff will then complete their review of the application at hand. This will then be submitted via a report to the Planning Advisory Committee, which will provide a recommendation to Council on the application at hand. This will then go for initial consideration at Council, where a public hearing would be scheduled. There'll be a public hearing where, again, the public will have an opportunity to comment on the final application to Council. Council will then have final consideration, where a vote to approve or deny the planning application would occur. And finally, there's a 14-day appeal period of Council's decision to the Utility and Review Board as mandated in the Municipal Government Act. And this is not whether you people like the application or like the proposed use. It's, did Council adhere to the policies contained within the municipal planning strategy pertaining to planning application? Finally, with regard to questions and comments related to the proposed application, they can be sent directly to myself, Will Robinson Mushcat, planner with the municipality of the County of Kings. And these comments can be submitted either via telephone, calling 902-690-6173, via email, wrobinson-mushcat, mushkat, @countyofkings.ca, or via our website, countyofkings.ca/planning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Will. Do the applicants wish to comment, or if there's anyone in the public that might be, I don't know, is anyone listening beyond what we're doing right now, Will? This is just a recording, isn't it?
That's correct. And for those who do have questions or comments, again, they can contact me via telephone or email.
Okay. Would you folks like to comment?
Mr. Killam, if it would be all right, just we'd like to tell folks a little bit about our plan and about ourselves.
Sure.
We've been a military family for the last 30 years. I was in the Army, and I just realized there's a picture of an aircraft in the background here, so that may take away from my description. But I grew up on a grain farm, and we have two young children, 13 and 10, who go to school here in Kingston, and I'd like for them to grow up on a family farm. And our intent going forward here in Kings County is to continue my second career in agriculture for as long as I'm able. And we're currently producing hay on the property. We don't have any livestock as of yet, though we aren't planning. If we do have any livestock, it'll be a limited quantity in terms of glorified pets, I guess, to some extent. The primary agricultural function of this farm will be crop production, and hay being my primary forage production is my current focus right now, though with our land that may change in the future. We're seeking to build a modest home and primarily a barn. And one thing I'd like to focus and maybe let people know right now is anyone driving past our property right now will see that I've got hay down and it got rained on last night. I've got no place to store hay right now, and that's certainly on me. But the sooner we're able to get a barn built on this property, the better it would be for my business plan, as opposed to racing the weather, tarping bales, and then trying to sell off the field. I'm not sure if Ocean. I'm kind of hogging the camera here. I'm not sure if Ocean has anything.
No, that's okay. All good.
Well, I think he's covered pretty much everything. Like you said, we'd really like to have our house where we're farming. All of our equipment is there. We're not able to store all of it. We're not, as he mentioned, we're not able to store the hay, so that's a detriment. So our priority is getting the barn built. The house is secondary.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're looking at maybe having some chickens, but we're not looking at doing farm animals. That's not really our intent. Our intent is to grow hay.
Is to maintain,
yeah.
So
So I think that's basically it. That's our application. We'd like to be able to build our house in our barn.
and the area, the bottom area of our property, the southern portion of our property, I should specify, has been clear cut. So there's very little, any commercial value wood that was removed prior to our purchase. And I think Will was maybe able to take a look at where I've started to do a little bit of land clearing. It's a very small portion that I've started so far. My intent is to the agricultural usable land in the southern portion of our property is to convert that into more forage production. Because right now I'm approximately 19 or 20 acres, which with the people that have already contacted me looking for horse hay, I have room for growth in providing that forage to Kings County.
Well, thank you. And hay is a sought after commodity right now, for sure. Thank you for that. And I guess from here, we'll just conclude the meeting and see where it goes from here.
Thank you.
Do you have any further comment, Will?
No, not at this time. Again, I'll reiterate that folks who have any questions or comments pertaining to this application can contact me via phone or email at the number shown on the screen there. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you. And thank you for joining us today.